The perfect escape. A night that changed everything. The chatter of voices and the clinking of glasses filled the bar, creating a soothing backdrop that felt like the perfect escape. I had been overwhelmed, exhausted, and desperate for a moment of peace. My phone had buzzed incessantly throughout the evening, but I had decided to ignore it, leaving it buried in my pocket. Tonight was for me. No distractions, no obligations, just a chance to unwind. The bartender, familiar with my usual order, slid a glass of whiskey across the counter, a generous pour that glistened in the dim light. I picked it up, taking a slow, deliberate sip. The smoky warmth of the alcohol spread through my chest, and for a brief moment, the chaos of life seemed distant. I exhaled, letting myself sink into the comfort of the moment. That was when she walked in. At first, I didn't notice her. The low hum of conversation around me had grown slightly louder, but I didn't pay it much attention. My gaze was fixed on the amber liquid swirling in my glass. But then, something pulled at my focus, a shift in the room's energy, a ripple I couldn't ignore. I looked up, and my heart froze mid-beat. Walking into the bar, hand in hand with another man, was my wife, Sophia. It wasn't just the sight of her that stunned me, it was the way they moved together. They weren't just walking side by side, they were laughing, their faces close, their chemistry undeniable. It was a scene that played out like a slow-motion nightmare, each detail magnified. My chest tightened as disbelief clawed at my mind. Sophia, the woman I had been married to for nearly 5 years, had always been warm, loving, and attentive. She had this incredible way of making me feel like I was the center of her world. But this was different. This was something I had never seen before. I watched them find a table in the far corner of the bar, completely oblivious to my presence just a few feet away. They sat close, too close. He leaned in, whispering something in her ear, and she laughed, her head tilting back in a way I hadn't seen in ages. It was a laugh full of joy, intimacy, and a spark that I realized had been absent in our marriage for some time. A cold wave of disbelief and dread washed over me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Yet, I couldn't tear my eyes away. I had to be sure, to confirm the reality of what my heart already knew. I stood, my legs unsteady, and made my way toward the bathroom, needing a moment to gather my thoughts. But as I walked, I couldn't help glancing back at their table. It was then that I saw it. The man leaned in and kissed her. Not a casual peck or a polite brush of lips, but a deep, intimate kiss that shattered any lingering doubts I might have had. In that moment, my heart felt like it was splintering into a million pieces. I stumbled outside into the cool night air, gasping for breath as I tried to steady the storm of emotions inside me. The city lights blurred through the tears welling in my eyes. My mind raced with questions. What had gone wrong? How had I missed this? Sophia and I had disagreements, sure, but what couple didn't? None of it had ever felt insurmountable. We had been happy, or at least I thought we were. Desperate for clarity, I pulled my phone from my pocket and scrolled through the messages Sophia had sent earlier that day. She had told me she was going shopping with her mom. There was even a picture, a bright smile on her face as she tried on a dress in front of a mirror. Looking at that photo now, all I could see was the weight of her deception. I stayed outside for a few minutes, trying to piece myself back together. Part of me wanted to leave, to avoid confronting what I had just witnessed. But another part of me, the part that needed answers, wouldn't let me walk away. Taking a deep breath, I re-entered the bar. The noise and warmth enveloped me again, but this time, it felt suffocating. I walked slowly toward their table, each step heavy with a mix of anger, pain, and determination. When I was close enough, I cleared my throat. Sophia looked up, her face pale as her eyes widened in shock. Her hand jerked away from the man's, as if my presence had burned her. For the briefest moment, I saw guilt flash across her face. The man, however, didn't flinch. He leaned back in his chair, a smug smile playing on his lips as if he knew exactly what was happening and didn't care. I stood there, my chest heaving, as the silence between us stretched into eternity. Finally, I found my voice, raw and trembling. "Sophia," I said, my throat tight with the weight of the moment. "Care to explain?" I stepped closer, my eyes locked on Sophia, my heart pounding so loudly I wondered if she could hear it. "Hey, love," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, though every word trembled on the edge of anger and heartbreak. Funny seeing you here. I thought you were out shopping with your mom. Sophia froze mid-motion, her face draining of color as though I had caught her in the middle of a crime. Beside her, a man shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his eyes darting between us as he sensed the mounting tension. Sophia quickly stood up, the chair scraping loudly against the tiled floor, her voice shaky as she stammered a response. I was, she began, her words faltering as she gestured nervously toward the man. This is Greg, my work friend. We were just catching up after work. Her words landed like a slap to my face, sharp and stinging. I stared at her, then at the man. Greg. He looked back at me, his posture stiff, his hands gripping the edge of the table as if bracing himself. Greg. I repeated, my voice colder now. The man you were kissing is your work friend? Sophia's eyes widened, her lips parting to speak, but no sound came out. Her gaze flicked nervously to Greg, who had now risen to his feet, his body language tense, almost defensive. The air between us grew heavier, suffocating in its intensity. I wasn't, she began again, but the words died on her tongue. She wiped her trembling hands on her jeans, avoiding my eyes. Why didn't you tell me about him before? I asked, my voice quieter but no less fierce. Why hide it if he's just a work friend? Sophia's gaze darted around the room, as if searching for an escape. I wasn't hiding anything, she said quickly, her voice rising slightly. I swear. He's just someone I see at the office. Stop lying, I interrupted, my voice hardening. You told me you were out shopping with your mom. Instead, I find you here with him. And I saw you, Sophia. I saw the kiss. Her face flushed a deep red, her mouth opening and closing as if she were trying to find the right words but failing miserably. Greg finally stepped forward, raising a hand as if to calm the storm. Listen, he said, his tone measured. This isn't how I wanted things to go, but what? I snapped, cutting him off. You're just another guy who doesn't care about wrecking someone's life, huh? Both of you are selfish. You have no idea what this is doing to me. Sophia turned to Greg, her eyes pleading, but he didn't respond. For the first time, I saw a flicker of hesitation in her expression, as if she wasn't entirely sure of herself anymore. But she didn't say anything to him. Instead, she turned back to me, her face pale and strained. Please, she said softly, her voice cracking. Just let me explain. I shook my head, the weight of her betrayal pressing down on my chest. Explain. I asked bitterly. Explain what? How long has this been going on? How many times have you lied to me? Sophia took a step forward, her hands outstretched as if to reach for me, but I took a step back. Her touch, once a source of comfort, now felt tainted. It's not what you think, she insisted. I was going to tell you, I swear. Save it, I said, my voice firm but laden with pain. You can explain when you're ready to tell me the truth. Until then, I don't want to hear it. I turned and walked away, my footsteps echoing in the quiet room. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Every step felt heavier than the last, as if the ground beneath me had shifted and I was trudging through quicksand. The cold evening air hit me as I stepped outside, but it did little to clear the fog of disbelief and anger clouding my mind. My thoughts raced, each one cutting deeper than the last. Why? Why had she done this? We were happy, at least I thought we were. If something was wrong, why hadn't she come to me? Why hadn't she trusted me enough to be honest? Instead, she had hidden it, lied. And now, the image I had of her, of us, was shattered. The woman I had loved, trusted, and built my life around wasn't the person I thought she was. The worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was the realization that I had been living a lie. All those excuses, all those little moments that didn't quite add up, they made sense now. Lies have a way of catching up with you, and tonight, the truth had come crashing down. My world, once steady and predictable, was now a chaotic mess of betrayal and heartbreak. As I walked home, I told myself one thing. I wouldn't be a fool anymore. Sophia could explain herself, but I wasn't sure I'd ever be ready to forgive her. For now, I just needed to figure out how to move forward, one step at a time.